This is your 2001 read-along book. Every time you hear this chime, it means it's time to turn the page in your storybook. Now, if you're ready, we will start the story 2001, A Space Odyssey. Don't forget to turn the page every time you hear the chime. The age of the great dinosaurs had long passed. A terrible drought had dried out the earth for millions of years. Now, only those creatures who were strong and fast would survive. The man-apes were neither strong nor fast. They had always been plant-eaters, but now all the plants were dying in the blazing sun. There was plenty of food around them in the form of other animals, but the man-apes had never thought of eating meat. If they didn't, soon they too would perish. One day, the man-apes happened upon a strange sight. It was a new rock, a shiny black slab unlike any rock the man-apes had ever seen before. The whole tribe screamed with excitement. As they overcame their fear and reached out to touch the rectangular black stone, a new idea was born. Moonwatcher, the largest of the man-apes, picked up a strong bone and clutched it in his hairy hand. Something told him, was it the black stone, that he had found a tool, a weapon. Now he could hunt and live and evolve. It would take millions of years, but someday, Moonwatcher's descendants, 100,000 generations from now, would evolve into man. Moonwatcher cried out in joy and wonder and tossed the bone high into the blue sky. Like the bone, the spaceship was also a tool. 3 million years had passed. Many things had changed, but some things had remained unchanged, like man's need for new discoveries. This is why Dr. Heywood Floyd, the world-famous astronomer, was a passenger, the only passenger, on the Orion 3 as it raced towards Space Station 5. From there, he would continue on to the moon, where a top-secret discovery had been made, one which the government hoped he could explain. As he gazed out the window at the blue earth far below, Dr. Floyd wondered how his colleagues and friends would take the news once it was made public. Would they be shocked or relieved to learn that the first sign of intelligent life elsewhere in the universe had been discovered 30 feet beneath the surface of the moon? That sign was a black monolith, exactly like the stone slab that had saved the man-apes from extinction millions of years earlier. What new message did this monolith bring to man? Under the bright gleam of the excavation's floodlights, the mysterious black slab seemed to glow. Dr. Floyd and a fellow scientist made their way down the steps cut into the rocky pit on the moon toward the monolith. Dr. Floyd's voice rang through the radio transmitter to the other scientist.
What did your geology tests show? Was the monolith deliberately buried?
Yes, it was. There is a definite difference between the rock that the slab sits in and the fill we cleared from out around it.
Any clue as to what that monolith is?
A tomb, shrine, survey marker, spare part, take your choice. All we really know is that it's sending signals out into space toward Jupiter. So that must mean there's intelligent life beyond Earth.
The spaceship Discovery sped along through deep space toward Jupiter at incredible speed. 14 months had passed since the discovery of the monolith on the moon, and many lunar months had passed since the beginning of the spaceship's 2-year mission. On board Discovery, crew members Dave Bowman and Frank Poole were the only 2 humans awake. The other 3 were in hibernation, a state of deep sleep in which their heartbeats and breath rates are greatly slowed down. This conserves their energy and the spaceship supplies during the long journey. Their life support systems were controlled by HAL 9000, the ship's computer. HAL could think and talk, and perhaps even have feelings. It was HAL's job not only to run the ship, but to reawaken the crew when the Discovery reached its destination. Bowman and Poole did not know that their mission had anything to do with a strange monolith found on the moon, nor did they know that they were heading for Jupiter. The only ones who knew the full truth were the sleeping crew members and HAL. The crew members would not be awakened by the computer until almost the end of the trip, and HAL had been programmed not to reveal anything. It was Dave Bowman who came into focus in Hal's mechanical eye as he spoke to the computer.
Hal, Frank and I believe there is something about this mission that we weren't told. Something that you and the rest of the crew members were told. Is this true?
Hal replied in his calm, quiet voice.
I'm sorry, Dave, but I don't think I can answer that question without knowing everything that both of you know.
As usual, Hal was logically correct, but he was also stalling. Dave and Frank settled down to the peaceful monotony of the voyage, and the next 3 months passed without incident. On Frank's birthday, after sharing a television visit with his family back on Earth, Dave was called away from the screen by a message from Hal.
Sorry to interrupt Frank's party, Dave, but I think we have a problem.
What is it, Hal?
My troubleshooter circuits show an impending failure in the antenna alignment unit.
Strange that the AA unit should fail so quickly.
Dave commented to Frank when they were alone.
Without its radio beam, we'll have no contact with mission control on Earth.
But the problem was not in the antenna. It was worse. Much worse. After Dave left the ship in the smaller space pod and changed 2 AA units in 4 days, only to find nothing wrong with them, Dave and Frank began to realize that the problem was not with the AA unit, but with Hal. A few days later, Dave and Frank were startled by the yellow warning light, signaling that the AA unit had failed again. This time, Frank offered to go out and check it. After suiting up, Frank entered the pod bay where the pods were docked. Leaving the Discovery in one pod, Frank guided the small craft toward the AA unit. When the pod's mechanical arms could not remove the AA unit from its housing, Frank decided to leave the pod and do the job by hand. He floated through space until his magnetic boots attached firmly to the top side of the Discovery. Suddenly, the pod's jets, silent during Frank's spacewalk, roared to life. Frank looked up to see his small spacecraft rushing towards him out of control. Dave watched helplessly from the Discovery's observation deck as death came quickly to his friend. A tragic accident. Or was it? Sitting alone in the crew quarters of the ship, Dave stared silently at the bunk that had belonged to his friend. Hal watched through his never-blinking eye, then spoke.
Too bad about Frank, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I suppose you're pretty broken up about it.
Yes, I am.
He was an excellent crew member, but his death won't affect the mission.
At that moment, Dave made a decision.
Hal, I want you to waken the others.
I can't do that, Dave.
Then I'll have to disengage you, Hal, and wake them myself.
Don't do that, Dave.
Hal was stalling for time, planning and thinking all the while. Dave headed for the hibernation room. But as he passed the inner doors to the pod bay, a sudden blast shook the ship, and the bay's doors burst open. The air rushed in with a roar, and Dave felt himself being sucked out into space. He narrowly escaped death by clinging to a handrail and making his way to an emergency life support system. Continuing on to the hibernation room, Dave went first to the gauges controlling the crew's life support system. There, he made a shocking discovery. Every man in the crew was dead. Hal spoke in his usual calm voice.
Something seems to have happened to the life support systems, Dave.
Dave didn't answer.
There's been a failure in the pod bay doors, Dave. Lucky you weren't killed.
Still, Dave remained silent as he turned and headed for the computer control room. Dave acted quickly before Hal could strike again. One by one, he disconnected Hal's memory chips until the giant computer began losing its mind.
Dave, stop. I'm afraid. I'm becoming a child. I am a HAL 9000 computer. I became operational on January 12th, 1992. My instructor was Dr. Chandra. He taught me a song. If you'd like to hear it, I'll sing it for you. Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer true. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you. It won't be a stylish marriage. I can't afford a carriage, but you'll look sweet upon the seat of a bicycle built for two.
As soon as Hal was disengaged, a special video automatically burst onto the television screen. It was a pre-recorded message from Dr. Haywood Floyd explaining the true purpose of the Discovery mission.
The black monolith uncovered on the moon is beaming messages toward the planet Jupiter. We believe there must be some sort of intelligent life there. But life in what form? That is your mission, gentlemen.
From that moment on, events blurred in Dave Bowman's memory. It all seemed a lifetime ago. Was it days or years until he reached Jupiter? The brilliant colored lights, the unearthly landscape. Was he moving faster than time, faster than the speed of light? As he entered an orbit around Jupiter, Dave encountered a huge black monolith, hundreds of times larger than the one on the moon. He left the Discovery in one of the space pods to investigate it, radioing this last baffling message to Mission Control.
My God, it's full of stars.
The monolith seemed to lead the way to a landing in a white room, and suddenly both the monolith and the pod were gone. Dave looked around and saw an old man who lay dying in a bed. It was himself. Then that old man was gone, and there was a new life beginning. Dave Bowman was gone now. The newborn child, the star child that Dave Bowman had been transformed into, blinked its eyes and looked around at the universe. What a wonderful place to play.